Hello, beautiful patrons. Hello, beautiful souls of this beautiful world. Welcome to the guide or tips for the GR20 trail. If you're here, you probably already know that the GR20 is a long distance hiking trail on island of Corsica, which belongs to France. It's approximately 180 kilometers trail, and it's considered to be as the toughest trail in Europe, if you don't know this already, which I suppose you already know if you're here and if you decide to embark on this trail. Mostly is about the terrain, what makes this trail difficult. It's lots of exposure there, lots of scrambling, but I suppose this you already know if you are thinking about hiking this trail. I went in the beginning of the October, off season, to find out what that actually means, toughest. Make this video applicable mostly for the people who decide to go in the off season. I cannot tell you about the prices of the food and the prices of the hut, but from the guidebook that I bought, that there is written basically everything what you need to know. I will try to just pick the things that I didn't found in the book.
The GR20 is a linear trek which travels the long spine of the rugged and spectacular mountain range of the Mediterranean island of Corsica. Mountain scenery on the route is exquisite. Jagged rocky peaks, sheer cliffs, lofty mountain passes. Nothing can prepare you for the splendor that you will experience. The GR20 is walked by an estimated 22,000 to 30,000 people each year. The GR20 is a multi-day trek with significant distances to travel. On a paper, the statistics are comparable with many alpine treks such as a Tour du Mont Blanc and Waltersroute and the Walker's Haute route. However, in a practice, the GR20 is harder. In fact, many consider it to be one of the hardest treks in Europe, and it has a high failure rate. In France, it has a legendary reputation, and it's often viewed as a kind of rite of passage. Even the French Foreign Legion train on the route. The rocky terrain is very challenging, particularly on the northern half of the route. It is relentless, throwing up new challenges day after day. Large sections of the trek have no path. Frequently, you must cross the section of boulders. There is much scrambling too, and you will frequently need to use your hands. You will travel slowly than normal, covering smaller distances that you are used to. GR20 is so different from most trekkers are used to that it's easy to overestimate it. Many sections of the route are very exposed with steep drops. This adds to the mental challenge, and the GR20 is not a place for those who have a fear of heights. Once you start the trek, you will not see the civilization again until the Visavona, which is roughly on a halfway.
The trail is quite remote, and I have to say there is almost none of the road walking. There is maybe just a couple of meters that you're gonna cross the road or pass the road. It is very remote, and everything how hard this trail will be for you. It also depends in which time of the year you decide to do it. Trail is accessible from June, the end of the June, till late of October. I mean, there is a possibility that you can do this even in winter conditions, but you should be really experienced climber, because this trail is really about climbing, and from the high altitude is could be lots of snow, so the crampons and the ice axe are required. Now, another important thing why this makes so much different is not just the public transport, how to get there and from there in the off season and in a season, but also the huts. They are opening between mid-June and they close on the beginning of October, which makes this trail difficult for the food resupply. Because it's really remote, you're gonna pass only one village in the middle of the trail, as long as you don't take any other escapes route and decide to stock up in other side villages, but you will have to hike quite a lot to get in. When the huts basically are unstuffed, you have to carry all your food for the first parts of the trail. You can hike this trail from north to south or south to north. It's on your own preferences. But I think it's better to hike this trail starting in the north because the north section is considered to be more difficult and more rockier, although the southern part is a little bit more mellow. It doesn't mean that it's easier. I would say they are like equally hard. There is just a little bit less exposure and less scrambling, less chain section in the southern part. So if you start from the south, you're gonna have finishing with really difficult days, and you might be tired. And also, I think that some of the ascents are easier if you're coming from the north part, rather from the north rather than from the south, because the Corsica is situated in Mediterranean Sea. In season in the summer, it could be a really extra challenge. It could be extra challenge to deal with the highest temperature and quite often and nasty thunderstorms and hailstorms. But by the end of the season, when I went, when basically there has been unstaffed in 2,000 meters, when you decide to camp, it's already freezing and you can encounter also some snow patches on sides of the hills when the sun is not shining, and mostly in night go maybe. So it depends, as I said, really about if you feel to carry the extra weight in your backpack, if you want to avoid the crowds, because the trail is really popular. You can expect queues and lots of people on a trail. If you want to feel more solitude and experience a little bit of and experience the autumn beauty, then I would suggest maybe the autumn or late September or October. Some of the huts are remaining open in off season, but only the dormitory room. There is basically no food. There is a gas, but how to get to the Corsica? Now this depends really from where you coming from. I was flying from London, and to me is the closest airport London Gatwick, and from there I have flights only to Bastia, which is on the north of the island. The start of the trail, if you decide to hike from the north, is in the small village of Calenzana, which is about 20 minutes from town Calvi. You can take the train or bus from Bastia to Calvi. In a season, it's more frequent, and the public transport is much easier than in the off season. In a season, the transport is adjust to the needs of the hikers. So, as I said, it's much easier to get there. Thing works about how to get from there. So the trails finish on the south at the village of Conca. In the off season, there is no buses. How to get from the Conca? So my plan was walk to the closest village down, which is I think Porte Vecchio Lucie. Oh, excuse my pronunciation. And from there, I had then bus to Bastia. Some of the buses you have to book advance through the websites and the pages. I put everything on the screen. This and the trains you have to buy on the place. You cannot pay by card in the buses. You have to pay only cash. The same works with the taxi driver, but if you're hiking this trail in a season, you have an option to book the bed in a refugee, but this is recommended to do really ahead. And I think it's really like stressful because you need to be on exactly time at the refugee, so you don't have that freedom. That's another reason why I went in off season. Another option is that you can rent a tent, but this has to be booked the same ahead. Or you can bring your own tent and camp next to the refugees. The wild camping is prohibited on the Corsica due to the wildfires, but you will see on the trail like very obvious designated areas for.
It's nice camping spot.
I believe that if someone don't make it on a time to the refugee, or how I did in off season, and I use some of these camping spot, and you follow the basic rules, leave no trace. But if you don't have a reservation even for the camping spot with your own tent, you're gonna pay double price, which I believe makes this trail really pricey. Because if you think that most of the people doing this trail in 14 days. That makes a really financial demanding this trail to paying for the or beds in a refuge or camping spots and double price even if you don't have a reservation and the spot is not guaranteed in a season. That's why I basically went in off season. Refugees are small but very clean and tidy. As I said, some of them remains open even during off season. There you can still find in some of them gas. Then hikers leave here then gas as well, little gas canister. I was running out of gas and I took the leftovers, what I found in a hut. Some of the huts after off season still have the electric on. In some of them was electric working, but the electric plug was off. Found there also pots and lots of wood and oven in and lots of firewood. So it's really good if you are caught in a rain in off season that you can stay in warm hut. What really helped me on this trail was an app called GR20. Not that is just a whole GPX trail in that map, but it shows you also the weather forecast for each section of the trail and all the necessary information like where is the hut, how many kilometers you already in, water source, if the water source is stream or pipe. Then the great thing was that it shows you also all these designated camping, wild camping areas. So as I said, in a season, it's easier because you can buy the food at the huts. Because I went in off season, I was carrying food for first 7 days. And I have to say that I was running out of food too early. The resupply is possible only as a Visa Vona, where is a little shop. The camping was still open there even in October. In the summer, there is recommended to filter the water and purify it. Lots of people get sick on the trails, and also there is this bug problem. However, I went in off season that has been empty and clean, so I didn't have any problem. And I also didn't filter the water that I was taking from the source. I would maybe filter the water from the sources that have been close to the livestock, which is grazing free around the whole island. But I was okay. Some of the streams been completely dry out.
Well, the stream is completely dry.
So there is quite lots of sections that I suggest you. Again, it depends when you're doing it. You know, if it was raining before you arrive or during your trail. So it's better all to ask the people who are coming from the opposite direction, how is it the situation with the water. But on the days when I was going up to Montecinto, I really struggled with the water. It was quite hot and there is not much water in these rocky sections. So the weather depends again on the season that you decide to go. The summer is really hot. You have a longer days, but there is lots of thunderstorms, so you need to have a great timing. I don't know how is it in June, but I seen the video and it looked really, really harsh. There was freezing and ice on Boca de Cruceta, and there was ice patches even when I went on the beginning of October. But the temperature was really nice and pleasant, so I was not steamingly sweating during the day. But in the night, obviously, the temperature dropped to sub-zero, so it's good to have some warm clothes and at least down jackets for the night. I didn't purchase any specific map. I was following pretty much this book from Knife Edge, GR20 Corsica, and that one contains all information. It's really good book. It has also the list of all the refugees and the facilities what you can find in that area, how many beds and the contact. I would recommend you to get at least this one or the sister one for all of this essential information. Also on this one you can find what to pack, how to get there, and all the connections, how to travel around the Calenzana to Calenzana or Conca. So I'm not gonna do all these things here because you can find it in the book, and I believe that you're gonna need it anyway. So this book was also coming with the maps for each stage, which in order to be lighter, I cut off. So I packed them just like this. And then I marked my own notes on the map, basically. The marking of the trail was super easy to follow. It's the white and red rectangle. It was a bit difficult on those crumbling sections because you need to keep checking which direction and keep your head up. And sometimes it took me a while to find the marker, but it's quite easy to follow the trail. The variants on GR20, you can take a few higher routes or lower. They are usually marked with the yellow marker, yellow color on the gas canister. When you arrived, it's very easy to get. They're selling them in a big spar. I get mine at the Bastia at the sport shop called, I think, Sportissima or something like that. There was a really nice shop, and the guy was speaking fluent English, so it was not a problem. It was like 5 minutes from the bus station. But in a season, I think you can buy them even at the Refugios. There is a big spar at the close to Calvi, and I heard that people buy it there. Also, the small shop at the Calenzana, I think, is selling. What to pack and take with you is a very personal decisions making. Because I believe that the gear that you choose to take with you depend on how much you want to get out of the comfort zone, how much you are able to carry, because it is not recommended to have a backpack heavier than the 10 kilo. As I said, this trail is more about scrambling than hiking. So you need to think that you need to use lots of hands, lots of time hands for climbing. But in the off season, I'm talking the off season October, I would definitely recommend you to pack some warm clothes, down jacket. I packed down sleeping bag to -25. Then definitely a rainproof. Definitely waterproof trousers, waterproof jacket, hat, gloves. I definitely recommend you to pack gloves. And tents. Well, I don't have the freestanding tents, and I didn't have a problem to pitch. Although if you have something smaller and freestanding, you will probably find some nice locations. On Corsica, people speak French. I read and I watched several videos, and some of them been saying that the people are not really willing to speak English. In the small villages, people really didn't speak English. In Ajaccio, I didn't have a problem, and on a trail, I met mostly international hikers. Generally, I didn't really have a problem because I was using Google Translator, but it's nice to not be an ignorant and at least to learn the basic phrases like bonjour, merci, au revoir, and s'il vous plaît, at least. Charging the phone and all electronic devices was not so big problem, but a little bit yes. I took my solar panel with me, but I was not using it for the first day despite it was sunny because the sun was not coming from my back because I was hiking from the north to south, and also it was a little bit making my backpack out of the balance. So for the safety reason, I was not using it, and I didn't have it spread on my backpack for the first day. But I was using it for the topping up of the little items, and I was charging my devices on the electric plugs in the huts that they've been open, and the electric plug was working. Silverdio had the plugs outside, and also they had the laundry room, which was still open and working. cash or card. So in Corsica, they're using euro, and I would probably suggest to take mostly cash. I use only cash, I would say. Well, in off season on a trail, you don't really need a cash because the hats are unstopped. But I was paying taxi and the train with the cash, and in the shops, people prefer more cash than the coverage. It varies during the trail. I didn't have a really good connection. I was using my own roaming from Sky. But eventually I had to buy the SIM card at the Corte to pack with you some satellite communicator, or the Garmin InReach or something like that, if you wanna let know your family that you are okay. There's nothing scary from the wildlife on the Corsica, but people I seen on a Facebook group that they've been talking about aggressive foxes. So I would suggest to have some smelly proof bag. I'm using the waterproof bags, and then I have a food in the ceiling smelly, the ceiling smell bags. And I was keeping everything inside my tent. There is lots of mouses. There are some mouses, even hats and squirrels. Then in the southern part, you have to be careful for the semi-wild pigs, which can steal your food. Other than that, you just gonna encounter some horses, cows, sheep, and squirrels and the birds, but nothing terrifying like a bear. Overall, I would say that this trail is really hard, and what makes it hard, it's the scramble. I did quite lots of national trails, and I have to say this was super hard. Super hard because you climbing every day, and it's not just about coming to the saddle, but also coming down. The descent's been really steep and it takes time. You don't covering much kilometers during the day, and I wouldn't recommend to doing this trail as your first through hike trail. I think some navigational essential skills are needed. The same, some skills from the scrambling, and mostly I would say you need to be okay with exposure, because that is quite a lot on this trail.